go. All right. Welcome to Financial Research and Databases. This program is just one of over 65 free Money Smart Month financial education events that are occurring all over the St. Louis metro area in partnership with financial institutions, nonprofit agencies, libraries, schools, churches, and local government. Money Smart Month is a community education initiative sponsored by the St. Louis Regional Financial Empowerment Coalition with in-kind support from United Way of Greater St. Louis. The events are also made possible by the funders, which include Stifel Bank, Commerce Bank, First Mid-Bank, Montgomery Bank, and many others. Visit moneysmartstlouis.org to learn about other personal finance events, the coalition sponsors, and the work. So each of you will be asked to complete a short online survey at the end of the class. We ask that you take a few minutes at the conclusion of the class or of the presentation to provide some feedback about today's discussion, as well as how you learned about the program and Money Smart Month. This information is very important to maintain quality and help the coalition plan for future events and class offerings. If you wish to be informed about future Money Smart Month events and about other free financial education activities throughout the year, you can include your email address on the survey. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name is John Henry. I'm with the Business and Reference Department. We're located at headquarters for the time being for probably about another month or so, and then we'll be located kind of dispersed throughout the area as that building gets fully redone. So just a disclaimer for myself. In this program, I hope to show you the various financial databases St. Louis County Library has available to you. The databases can be used for various types of financial planning, such as college savings, retirement savings, banking, and insurance scouting, and by independent investors. Also by you for investigating companies you hope to do business with. There are lots of tools and information contained in these databases. We will be showing off many of the tools. Any search or use of these tools, display of information, mention, or choice of financial product in this program is merely for demonstration only and does not constitute any type of financial advice or endorsement. You are encouraged to do your own research and engage in your own continuing financial education. And when necessary, contact and consult with appropriate financial professionals. This presentation is not individual investment or financial advice. All right, so we got that out of the way. I should be sharing my screen with you. It looks like I am. And I'm going to be switching back and forth between this slideshow and the library website and the library databases. If you have a library card, with just about every library card you have, you'll have access to these databases. So if you have a full library card, you should be able to access all the databases. If you don't, I've got contact information at the end, or you can call up the library and we can kind of sort out what the issue might be, and you can access that. All right. So let's get rolling here. It's a long program with a lot of information packed in. I'm going to start off by pointing out Weiss Financial Ratings, or its full name is Weiss Financial Ratings Series Online. There's lots of options there. I'm going to point out how to use some of the screeners, how to create a personalized account for tracking financial products, and searching for specific known products. It's going to be a little overview of this database. So I'm going to go and access it, and we're going to start by looking at banks and credit unions. Okay. So there's a couple ways to get to these databases. I'm going to show you one way, and I'm going to show you both of the easiest ways. If you go on here on the top, this is the St. Louis County Library webpage. Across the top are tabs, and from here you can access the event section, which you may have accessed that to sign up for this class. You can access our catalog and all other types of options with the library. But the databases I'm going to show you are in this research section. In this research section, you can see the tab kind of has a pull down window here. It also gets repeated over here at Resources A to Z. So we're going into the Weiss Financial Ratings Series Online, and Resources A to Z has a once you click here, you'll see an alphabet across the top. If you click to any one of these options, you'll get to they're sorted by name. You'll get to the database you're looking for. So since we're going to Weiss Financial Ratings Series Online, we'll go to W. We can see it's right here. You'll just click on the name. Now, another way you can get to that is back from the home page. You can click on that research tab. If you Go down here, you'll see business owner and investor. If we just click on that, we'll have all the databases sorted kind of by type or by user. And so this is for small business operators, investors, and people seeking grants. Typically not nonprofits or individuals seeking grants for perhaps further education or whatever. But what we're interested in today is this finance and investing tab right there. So all of our databases are here. In the previous class, I did cover this Rosen Digital Financial Literacy database, and today we're going to cover these databases in a little bit more in depth, cover the things that aren't the financial education options. So we'll go to Weiss Financial Rating Series Online. You just click on the name, and all of these databases, they like you to, well, I'm going to clear my throat in a second. And all of these databases, they want you to sign in. Make sure you're a St. Louis County Library user and card holder. So we go up here for Weiss Financial Ratings. Typically, most of our databases have a different login page. We'll probably see it when I get to those. But just go and click in the sign in option. And you can sign in for Weiss Financial Ratings. For Weiss Ratings, I'm just going to call it Weiss Ratings from now on, not the full name. To do the login for this with your library card, you do have to put SLC at the beginning, and then you can put in your library card to log in afterwards. So it's SLC followed by your library card number, and then you just click sign in. This one, it doesn't ask you for your PIN. The other ones will likely ask me for my PIN. We'll get to that when we get to those options there. If you all have any questions or need me to speak up or anything like that, please do so in the chat. I forgot to mention that. So there's me saying hello in the chat if you want to do that. Thank you so much. I meant to bring that up. So that's how you can communicate with me. Okay, here's Weiss Financial Rating Series Online, and we wanted to look at banks and credit unions. The filters are the same, so we can either click on the icons here, either the bank's icon, or we can also use the options across the top to go to the credit unions. See, those pages look a little bit different. Since banks, credit unions, the search screen is very similar, we're just gonna look at one of the screeners and not look at both of them. Just they kind of operate the same way. You'll even see as we hop into the stocks and the ETFs and the mutual fund screeners, they're going to look the same. So if you know exactly what bank you're looking for, you can just type it in the top. So a local bank. So you can see the bank right here. So if you're looking for the local bank here, you can just type it in and find it there. Or we can begin to build these kind of awesome screeners that Weiss has to begin to screen and sort out the banks here. So as you're in here, you can begin to build this search. So go ahead and click to build one. They have some previously crafted searches here, but let's go and build a search right here. So you can begin by adding to criteria. We want to find banks that operate in Missouri. Let's go and start with that. So let's go and look at through our categories and columns. Common categories are here. So here we are, states with branches. We'll do that. And then once you select that, hit add to criteria. And we want to choose, since we'll be doing our banking in Missouri, we'll want to choose Missouri. That gets us 200 banks. We can begin to add other filters on here by simply clicking add to criteria. One of the added value that Weiss has, it's not just a listing for banks, an A to Z listing of banks that you can look up like a phone book or something like that. Weiss Ratings offers a safety rating for banks and insurance companies, and a recommendation rating for financial products such as ETFs and stocks, and we'll look at that a little bit later. So you can go and hop into rating and go ahead and add to criteria. You can see that shows up here. There's these sliding tabs, so you can choose to slide these tabs around and do your selection. We want to get pretty highly rated banks, so let's go ahead and see what we have that shows up here. That keeps us with 243 banks. Let's go and narrow it down just a little bit more. And there we have banks rated A+ to B. Now the default listing of the banks is alphabetical, as we can see here, with the little arrow that points right here. If we do want to rate it a slightly different way, maybe do it alphabetical by city, or we may even want to list it alphabetical or by rating from top rating all the way down if we go to the end to the lower rated of our scale. And when we see the bank, I'm going to hop all the way to the beginning. We see the bank that we're interested in. I'm just going to take the top one here. No real exact choice on that, just so we can look at what the bank page is. Just go and click on the name of the bank that you see there, and it's going to take us to the detailed page of that bank. It's going to list rated capitalization, asset quality, profitability, liquidity, and stability, and give you kind of a ranking in there of 1 to 10 ranking, with 10 being the highest, and actually 0 to 10 and 0 being the lowest. An explanation for how the options are ranked, and we can hop around and begin to see other affiliates, if there's any affiliates with the banks, the ratings history, see if it's trending up or down for you, and what quarter that change was made. You can also begin to compare banks if you want to compare side to side. So I put in Commerce before, and another bank that operates in the area, a large bank that everybody is probably familiar with. That's the bank out of Charlotte there. And you can see it will put in bold the higher ranked in the certain categories ratings. We'll also have the rating across the top for these banks. Changes in asset growth, how much capitalization they have, and so you can begin to make more sort of hard and firm decisions about your banking institution or banking and financial institution. Obviously, some of the same information comes up here on credit unions, and we can also see how the bank we've chosen rates in comparison to the industry. So across the whole, where the industry ranks. So this particular bank, Glendale Bank and Trust Company, has a higher asset quality index than the rest of the industry as a whole. It's ranking higher on a lot of different options, and it does rank lower on other ones. Of course, that lower may be something that may be a concern or may not be a concern. You actually may want to have a different ranking in a certain area if you're interested. If there's any sorts of terms that you're unfamiliar with, I'm not a professional banker myself. I'm a librarian, and so oftentimes I wonder, what does this risk-based capital ratio actually mean? Or what does it come down to? Or loan loss reserves to loans? If you don't know what that is, all the bank listings, and even as we go into the financial institution listings, will have a glossary. And if we go to R, we have all those terms put out here. So here's that risk-based capital ratio and the full definition of that. Okay, so we get the compare banks, oh yes, the adding to a watch list. So you can add the items to a watch list, but to do that, you will need to sign in to a personal account. The awesome thing about Weiss Financial Ratings, and the reason I like to bring it up forward, is it allows you to create a watch list for all your financial institutions and your accounts. So I've got my work login here. I also have a personal one that I'm not going to show right here for advice's sake, but I've got the work one that I just that I use for these demonstration purposes. I have to remember what my password was for here, and that logs us in, so we can see I'm logged in here, and we had the Glendale Bank and Trust Company up. And we can add this little kind of bookmark or banner here that allows us to add it to the watch list. Now, if we have the bank up, we can also print up or save a report if you'd like, just by clicking that report option, and it creates a nice little PDF for you to print out or carry with you wherever you may want to go, or email this PDF to somebody that may not have access to this database if you're discussing it, or to have something if you're meeting with family or meeting with anybody about making your decisions on who you might bank with in the future. Okay, does anybody have any questions about this section of Weiss Financial Ratings? All right, we're going to move on to searching for insurance companies. It covers, they have all these insurance companies, so you can sort out by the state they operate in, and you can see even by my screenshot here about how many different types of insurance you can search for. So you can search by various criteria. So once again, to get to that, I always like to use this one across the top. It gets us right to the screeners here, right to the option to choose the screeners. It has some recent rating changes. This you would see the same thing on the banking option, and it has how the ratings distribution is. Not a perfect bell curve. You can see a lot of the insurances fall right here in the middle and see an average and an average rating, which is pretty much to be expected. But you can see they kind of have a bump up here in the upper B's. So let's go ahead and review how to build a screener. Again, you're going to see something is going to look very familiar from that before. And now that I've logged in to my account, I have some pre-made screeners. So I pre-made a screener earlier, and I'll show you how to save these screeners. One of my screeners is this Missouri Home and Auto. So I've set up the screener to search for, and we'll see it right here, insurance companies that provide homeowners and auto insurance that have a rating of C+ or better that are licensed to operate in Missouri. And I got 380 of those. We can, of course, list it by company name, or we can list it by rating, best rated to lowest rating within your scale. So if you want to make a new, so I can actually, if I want to filter in, I can filter in a new criteria. And I'm going to go and filter in a new criteria and save a new search. Actually, well, I need to create a new one. Save that one. So I'll make a new search. So I'll just add the criteria. We want to know licensed in. All right, licensed in. So we'll add that to criteria. We'll stick with Missouri. And let's go ahead and find some other options here. Let's see if you're doing health insurance. They do have health insurance. So let's look at insurance type as well. Let's build one looking at, let's say we're a business owner and we want to operate and kind of work, get some workers' compensation for our employees. And we also want to get some business insurance here. So here we can save this and we can do that. And we also want to maybe add one more criteria. Let's do Weiss ratings again. We want a pretty highly rated one. Let's actually even do it even higher. So there we are. We've got 123 choices here. Save that. All right. So here's our search here. And just like with the banks, all we need to do is click on one of the options. And it's going to carry us to this page. And you can see this similar look. This page looks similar to what we saw with the bank page. And we can add our things. We can add it to our watch list here by using the little bookmark ribbon. We can always print up the report. And we can go through and see if there's any affiliates. You'll find this affiliates pop up a lot more often in insurance companies because they might have different licensing or different branches within a state. History of their ratings, and even the glossary if you're interested in those terms. Just like with the bank, where there might be terms that you aren't familiar with when you look at that, this will allow you to do that. Just like with the banks, you can see how it compares to the industry and other options like that. And the summary, they're going to have their web page and their main contact information for you. Does anybody have any questions about this insurance screener? Is this making sense to everyone, I hope? All right, the next in Weiss Financial Ratings, they allow you to look up financial products. I'm going to lump all stocks, mutual funds, and exchange traded funds in together. You'll see that this search criteria will look very similar to what we looked with the banks and insurance companies, except for this will look at specific financial products. So we can begin to build a screener with this one too. Let's go and hop back to the homepage on the Weiss Financial Ratings homepage. Once again, across the top, we've got stocks, mutual funds, and exchange traded funds to search for that. You can also do a search here for, if you heard a name, you can also search for, so you want to search for a stock and you heard something in the news recently about a company that's out there making electric cars. You can search directly for a stock here and you can be able to see its ticker and this detailed page. We'll get back to this detailed page after I kind of go into the search, after I go into the screener option. So let's go ahead and let's do a search for ETFs. That's exchange traded funds. They're sort of like, some way to describe them is a little bit like mini mutual funds. They're a lot more targeted. Um, they're a lot more targeted to specific industries and specific types, but some are cover the broad base of a market, like you'd find in a mutual fund. They typically trade a little bit faster. They trade at the price that you traded at. Whereas mutual funds, you've got a like a daily price that's kind of aggregated for the day. Once again, with that financial education, you can find out a lot more about it and get a better explanation from somebody who's a financial professional on that. So if you go into the exchange traded funds, you'll see best when your returns, ETFs of the day, how that ratings distribution is. Here we have that bell curve. The market's been a little bit volatile recently, and I think this sell has bumped up recently since a few months ago. And if I click around here to the mutual fund page, you're going to see a page that looks very similar to that other page with the same kind of layout here. And the stocks about the same. The stocks is going to be a little bit more detailed on the things. I have a stock review of the day and options here. So but here in the ETF, you can just click to a name if you see something here with the recent ratings changes. With this ratings change, you can get recent upgrades, ones that have got upgraded recently, and so you can hop straight to those. We're going to look at this screener, building a screener here, and seeing what we can find. And because I am logged in, oh, I don't have any screeners saved for this one. I think I have screeners saved for my mutual funds here. Voila, here's some screeners that I have saved for my mutual funds. And they have some pre-made screeners around here. So you can look at those screeners there. Let's get back to the exchange traded funds. So you can begin to add the criteria. Maybe we want to let's look at a ETF that has a potential for a high dividend yield. A dividend yield above maybe 2.7%. We'll just use a slider here. Sometimes it's kind of funky about entering those terms. Let's go ahead and do one here. And then we want to get ones that maybe have a high rating from Weiss. Ones that are at a high hold or better. And let's add one more in here. Ones that have had a good return over the last 5 years, maybe. It's going to be with this higher dividend. What we'll find. So let's go. This is our one that's set up, and we have 113 options here. And once again, just like with the banks and the insurance ones, you can sort this list by clicking that top column and sorting by order from top to bottom, alphabetical. Or if you're looking at, you wanted to get the high dividend yield, you'll see that this top one has that highest dividend yield. So if you're interested in looking at more details of a option, if you just click on the name of it, you're going to see how the distribution of this is laid out. This ETF is laid out. You're going to see some of its top holdings if you click on more. So what an ETF does is it buys stock in a lot of different companies. And this has some international stock, so it invests in a lot of different companies. And you can see what the weight is and how that option is invested in those companies. You can look at, they have similar ETFs, so ones that invest in the same oftentimes the same sector, the same industry, but also ones that maybe have a similar kind of return profile for you. So if you're researching ETFs, this could be the option for you. A price history, so you can look at how it's done in the past. You can look at recent returns. You can even look at returns all the way back to the beginning of the ETF and see how it does over the certain year period. You can even, if you want to, you can use a slider to narrow down to a certain range, or you can even enter in a certain date. So if you bought a stock on an ETF or a stock on a certain date, or even a mutual fund on a certain date, you can look at what that is, what that might be. So you can enter in the exact date there. Its return. It has a chart of the returns here. It has a net asset value history, which is it's going to be a very similar option there. Comparison, if you'd like to compare other ETFs. So there's one offhand that I know. You can compare how other ETFs are and stack up against it on the kind of highlighted areas. But you can also see for this ETF how it compares with the industry. So in that industry, how it's ranked and the rankings here, just like with the banks and the insurance companies. Out to the glossary and look at that glossary as well. So if there's any kind of term that you don't know, that beta, it's a measure of volatility, and you can see what that is. So if you're researching that and you're not quite sure what they are, you're getting into this and you want to know what that is, this will be a great help to you. All right, and last but not least in the Weiss financial ratings is the Medigap report. So once again, across the top are all the different options for you. If you hop into this Medigap section, it's going to take you to a page where you can fill out and you begin to get information about Medigap insurance. You can enter your name. If you're a person that qualifies for Medigap insurance, you can enter in your personal email and it will email you a copy of the report, or you can use the dummy email down here if you don't want to give them your personal email address. Choose an age and a zip code. And it's going to build the report. It's going to take a while to build through there, and we'll hop back through that. I'm going to move things along a little bit quickly here, and we're going to move on and look at Value Line Online. Okay, once again, to get to these databases, you want to start from the St. Louis County Library homepage. If you hop into the research section and you scroll down here to the business owner and investor user type, and you just hop to finance and investing. So we're going to look at Value Line Online. Has anybody heard about the publication Value Line? They have a span of publications, a couple, maybe a dozen or so publications, and you can have access to it at the headquarters branch for now. I'm not exactly sure where we'll be moving those hard copies to, but you can access. But all those are available here online. So like I mentioned before, when you go into these pages, you will need to log in using your library card. So I will put in my library card and my PIN, and it's going to log me in here to Value Line. That's still building that report. And it logs in. So Value Line, I like to say it's primarily focused on the stock investor. So it's very strong on individual stocks, whereas you see that Weiss financial ratings kind of is good, is robust in all the areas. But if you're looking at just particular stocks and evaluation of stocks in the stock market, Value Line really is, that's where its strength is, that's where it's strongest. I like to say. So there's several printed publications, like I say, at the library. It's searchable and browsable and available to you as patrons. It gets really in depth with stocks, and stocks are typically, the stocks that they review are often reviewed on a quarterly basis with some really interesting commentary that goes in there. So I'm going to start by showing a couple of the publications that Value Line has. It comes up here to the research and you can begin to browse that, but I like to hop right here to the dashboard, which takes us here, and you can see all the publications. They're kind of highlighted here, so they're active links. So there's some links that aren't active. You'll see it'll say this product is not part of your subscription, but there are links that are active. So a popular one that a lot of users go to is a Selection and Opinion. It's a publication that comes out, I believe, weekly. Yeah, weekly, and it covers a lot of options about how selecting stocks and their opinions on stocks, including having sample portfolios. Um, Model portfolios is what they call it, and how they're, and commentary on those portfolios and how they change out. So they've got about 20 different stocks in each portfolio uh, to have various performance options for the stocks that have short-term returns, and stocks that have higher returns, as well as ones with a pretty solid dividend yield for your a little bit more stable income if you're looking for that. So, and their opinions and narrative on how they make these choices. So that's when you get that up, you can print that from home. You can download it if you'd like. Once you do that, once you have access to that, there's options, climate change, and all other kinds of choices for you. Fund Advisor Plus, where they review certain fund. Typically, it depends on how your browser is set up. The way we have it set up is usually when you go into a new database, it'll remember you for about an hour and a half. It kind of depends on how your browser is set up and how your cookies are set up for logging in. Your browser may also be set up that it's going to remember your library card in that autofill section. But as long as you're active in the database, you should remain logged in for the whole session. So you don't have to log in every time you click on one. I hope that answers your question. Sorry, I didn't see your question earlier, but yeah. So, the question was, do you need to sign in every time you access a new database, or you'll be able to stay logged in once you are? Our database has, most of them have a single login page. Once you log in once, it'll kind of autofill your library card if your browser is set up to do so. If your browser is set up a little bit more privately or something like that, you may have to enter your library card every time. It's kind of case-to-case basis on that one. Here in this dashboard, we went to the Fund Advisor Plus, but in this Fund Advisor Plus does have a screener that you can build, and you're going to see some similar options laid out for the screener here in Value Line for options. So let's just go ahead and look up a fund if we know a name of a fund, and we can go and look up a fund directly. So to look up funds, you do have to go through this dashboard to the Fund Advisor Plus. And so they give you like one little quick tear sheet for a fund. You can see it might not look as in depth as the one you saw in Weiss Financial Ratings. And I'm going to take us on to look at Morningstar, which I think is really robust on looking at mutual funds. The good thing here is they've got a comparison one, how it compares to the S&P 500. This is a fund that's supposed to track the S&P 500, so you can see it just basically mirrors. It has, there's a little bit of lag in there, just for catching up and trying to mirror that S&P 500, which is what the fund's kind of goal is. You can also hop around across these tabs on the top. You can read about the stock market today. They sort of give why the stock market is having sort of the influence is there. If you're somebody that's cued into maybe making a lot of trades and such, the economic calendar might be useful for you. They're going to tell you when industry reports come, when housing permits, when all types of financial reports come out. So a nice long calendar of what's coming up, so you can begin to get an anticipation for what the markets may do or react to in the time. The find ID, so that's actually locked out for us. I pointed out in the previous class the investment education. I'm just going to point to it here rather than spending too much time on there. But let's go back. Let's go back to our dashboard and look at a couple of other things. Actually, let's search for a stock. That's what I was going to do here. Just go and search for a stock. This is a popular stock. It's been in the news. We can look at that. We can see what information they have written up about it. They've got more than just having. We saw Weiss had 1 ratings. They have not only they have a safety rating, but they have a financial strength in which they evaluate the strength of the company based on all this financial information. A lot of people really love. A lot of people, most people really love when they're looking at stock reports to look at Value Line because it really gets in depth. They've got your quarterly commentary, where you've got your first paragraph here. If you click read more, they're going to have the full about 200-word write-up for the stock. And it gets really in depth as to why the stock been going, why the dividend didn't pay out as much as it did, or has a special type of like dividend paying out like that, like that it's up or down. You can, even if you want to, you can kind of move stuff around to have more important information up top. You can hide information if you don't want to see it, because this can be kind of busy if there's something you really want to focus on here. If you want to, also the PDF report, if you click on the PDF report, if you all are familiar with the, um, the Value Line, the print edition of Value Line, this is that exact same information you find in that print information. So once they get the new write-up, you can see it's got 429. So this is actually previously there. So that's going to be in the 429 issue, but it's going to show up here for you once they get it released here in Value Line. You're going to have that available for you. So if there's stocks you want to go to, you don't have to wait that week for it to get printed up and then get put in the mail and they get shipped to us, and then for us to get it out on the shelf as quickly as we can. You're going to have that right here directly available for you right away. So yeah, there is a way to look up ETFs here as well if you're interested in looking what Value Line's opinion is on the ETF. They're in the Weiss updates it. They don't look at them quarterly. So the ratings. So the question is how frequently are Value Line and Weiss updated? Weiss kind of is a rolling update, and their stuff, they've got some automated updating. So every stock that they have has a valuation based on kind of like um, purely quantitative data, and some are curated, but so those ratings are kind of updated on a rolling basis, whereas Value Line, they look at the stocks, uh, the stocks that they rate once a quarter. So they don't rate every stock, but they have somebody look at it. Not only do they do a quantitative analysis of that, they'll also look at they have more of a qualitative analysis as well, with a human looking at it, and that's where you get that narrative and the commentary that happens. So you can see, we'll go back and look at one of the stocks, and I'll show you. You'll see a name attached to who reviews that stock and offers a commentary. So to get to the ETF service that Value Line has, it's here in the dashboard. If you go to the new ETF service, that goes in there. And the ETF service, we've already familiarized ourselves with a with a screener. This has the same kind of screening right here. So you can add values, and you can see the performance in one day. You can see the performance, different types of performances that you may want from an ETF. 1 year performance. Let's look and see, maybe 8%, greater than or equal to 8%, or you could do less than or equal to. We'll look at greater than or equal to 8%. We'll just add that there, and then just to keep it real simple, we'll run that. Actually, let's look at their ETF rank. If you have any questions about what these are, just like with Weiss, there's kind of a built-in glossary. If you just kind of like hover over this little question mark, it's going to tell you what options you have here. So the rank is here. So the highest rating is 1. Let's go and look at the ratings for 1 and 2 and add that to our screener, and then run a screen and see what we have up. So here's the screener for that. All these options here. Let's just choose this one here that's underneath our mouse. That should be pulling up a thing. I will have to put a report about this. Yeah, so it should have reports on that. These links should be working. I will put this up to somebody and make a note about that. Sorry about this. I'll get this working for you. All right. We'll get it working right now because we got to contact our uh, value line about that, and we'll be in probably until Monday. Yeah. So you can see the rankings here, quick ranking and performance, but these do fit the criteria that we have here. So you asked about the stock being listed and the commentary and the update. So here in the commentary, so here's a March 18th, 2022 commentary on Apple stock here. If you click the read more, you'll actually see the individual that reviewed the stock and wrote this commentary for you and kind of looked over those ratings there. For value for value line, they have how they're the rating, what the ratings measure, and options like that. So that's what value line will have for you. So they have the rating definition, the laid out for you as to exactly what they mean by that. Right. And we're going to move on to Morningstar Investment Research Center. You're going to see a lot of similar things here. And I mentioned about Morningstar being the very robust on mutual funds and doing the research on those. Each one of these has their own value. This Medigap thing isn't loading up. Just know it creates a PDF for you, and you can go through and review Medigap insurance. It's good for somebody in your household, or if yourself, or if you know somebody that might be shopping for that Medigap in that open enrollment period. Close that down. Keep things running fast here. All right. To get to Morningstar, you can obviously go the way I showed you before by going on here and hopping to the business owner and investor section. Let's go through the resources A to Z and look for the M for Morningstar. Once again, these are all alphabetical. We'll hop down here, Morningstar Investment Research Center, click on the name, and now you'll see it's going to skip past, or it should skip past the login screen, and it did for previously. So it held that login information that I had for value line, and it's going to offer that key here still because we're still within that hour of me logging into value line. It just kind of remembers me that I'm a library customer. It's one portal that goes through. Weiss is a little bit different about how they have their login. Most of the databases will work this way. So let's look at a couple of the added values it has. We'll get back to covering the stocks, funds, and ETF screeners that Morningstar has. But let's look at one thing that Morningstar does offer are these articles and videos. So they have recent articles with people that work for Morningstar that write reports on how the market's doing, how certain aspects are doing. You can also filter through and just look at articles from their investing specialists or things that are coming from their ETF specialists, if that's what you're looking for. It's processing, so it's going to load up just their ETF specialists here. But I'll mute myself while I take a and then back here, we have the ETF specialist. If there's a article you're interested in, you can see the date here. If there's an article you're listed in, you can click that, and we'll take you to a web page which has an article on how to diversify your portfolio on this particular one and options like that. So you can read through that as what the specific article is. You all have access to it if that's something you're interested in. There are also videos available there, so you can watch videos if you'd like. And there are these options for newsletters. Let me hop to newsletters. So they also publish regular newsletters like we saw with Value Line on a monthly basis, where they kind of review certain financial products on a monthly basis. It looks like here for these. Sometimes I've seen them skip months, but let's say you're interested in, you're primarily a fund investor, just want to find out more about fund investing. If you just click on the month you're interested in, it's going to download for you. And you'll be able to open that up in a PDF, and it's a 52-page option, and it's going to talk about particularly current events, about how the conflict in Ukraine is affecting markets and what can how you can possibly hedge against that or work it to your advantage possibly. So not going to cover what the 52 pages has. Like I say, you'll have access to that in the future, and you can spend a lot of time on that. Yeah, this is actually being recorded. Yes, it is being recorded. Uh, and and it is being recorded. It will hopefully be up on the St. Louis County Library's page later on, and tomorrow the slideshow I'm showing you, the slideshow will also be available. It doesn't tell you much about how to use it, just kind of notes for myself to make sure I cover everything I want to cover on this. I saw somebody, looks like Chuck, on the insurance page. Can you include 2 states that one company supports in home insurance? Yes, you can. You can just add as many states as you want. You can add all 50 states, or just 2 states. So if you're operating in Missouri and Illinois, when you're doing WISE financial ratings, you'll be able to add on that screener, add Missouri and Illinois, which would probably be the most likely options for our geographic location. I'm going to hop back here to Morningstar and go through these options. Now, Morningstar, you can use it, and you can actually search for, we'll actually go off the home page. Once you go off the home page, so you can look at equity markets. You can also search directly for a fund or a stock here. So you can look for like an ETF, and you can see some of these are ETFs. There might be stocks there, or you can search for a stock we looked for before, and you can hop in there and you can see what the search is. So you can hop directly to a stock here. As time as it downloads up, you can see the company report there. But I'm gonna spend my time, and we're gonna look at actually what the funds page looks like. Just based on our time, I think we'll just focus on the funds page. So you can search directly for anything. Well, it's fund we searched for before. You can look at that there. But let's just hop to the funds page, and you can see that this funds page will look similar to the ETF and the equity page. It's taking its own sweet time, isn't it? So on the splash page for each one of these financial products is a general overview of funds. They have like target dates, other options, articles, some videos from their fund experts, how the market's looking in different geographic areas across the world, U.S., Asian, European, and Canadian markets, the sector deltas, and information like that, market parameters, how that's kind of laid out. You can explore that there. A lot of interesting. They even have the target date series. Some funds are set up for people planning for retirement. There's certain funds that have a target date for a retirement time or special savings time, and so they have all the fund series in which they review funds based on that target date and how they're performing. There's also funds that cover 529 college savings plans, if that's what you're doing. So you've got the college savings plans here, and you can pull these out for as a PDF. And so if you're looking at investing in certain funds, you can list it by state. You can also, just like with WISE, with the column heading, resort it by analyst rating. One of the things that Morningstar does offer is they offer what's called a sustainability rating. So if you're interested in possibly investing in sort of greener stocks, or stocks that maybe have or companies and also funds that have a lighter touch on the environment, this sustainability rating really helps out. It's taking its own sweet time as well. But what I really want to point out with the funds is using these the screeners, the find similar, and the fund compare option. So the screener, just like with WISE, you can build the screener here. So you have more screening. You can build screeners, so you can even build up to an equity style box for the type of investing you may want to do, just based on visual stuff. If you're investing for in large companies that have a lot of growth potentials, or ones that have value potential for you, you can also search directly for a stock. Let's say you're looking for This is a large company. Why isn't that autofilling? That should be autofilling. There it is. So you can search for companies, and you can add in companies. So let's say you're just looking to buy from Morgan Stanley and Vanguard, and you want companies that Morningstar has rated highly. So what Morningstar has, they've got two basic ratings. And the Morningstar rating is a rating based on past performance, and the Morningstar analyst rating is a rating based on expected future performance. Is basically how it's broken down. That's what the person from Morningstar told me when I took a webinar on this. Now Morningstar has all types of categories about how the fund may be allocated. If you're really interested in that kind of thing. So investing in certain markets, some funds are specifically in, Pacific Asia market, as we saw when we scrolled by. I'm not sure if these companies have that, so I'm going to choose that. I'm going to leave this Morningstar category open. I'm going to keep these basic searches here. You can make the search as complicated as you want, but you can see it just automatically updates. So we have 17 funds that meet our criteria. You can hop straight to a fund report. You can also choose to add these to option, and then so as you can begin to compare these, you can hop out and download those in an Excel file or a CSV file. Begin to compare these side by side. You can also take a deeper look by doing this investment compare. You can add these holdings, so you can see that side by side compare, just like we saw with Weiss ratings. On other options, you can have this side by side compare. And you can see even if you're more of a visual person than just looking at the numbers, you can see how these funds have compared against each other on a chart over a certain time period. Say 10 years. Some of these funds may not be 10 years old. Looking at the 3-year performance, how that works out. All kinds of information. These are very informational rich options on these fund searches here. Let's choose this. Let's look at this top fund and look at what the detail of the fund looks like. Is that what it's called? Oh, got my transposed. So let's look at what this fund detail page looks like, and you'll see the page is going to look similar. The fund page and the ETF page look very similar to each other in their review, and the stock page looks also similar, but because stock is narrow in its scope, just one financial product, a single financial product, instead of these sort of blended products that you'll find with the mutual fund or an ETF. So you get your main details up at top. You have your expense ratio, minimum initial investment, but Morningstar reviews it kind of at their will, but most of these larger funds will have a review and how they came about rating them a gold and giving them that 5-star rating. And so they'll have your narrative here. They'll have they'll have performance here. The interactive chart I like a lot from Morningstar. If you go to the interactive chart, it will have the fund's performance over a certain time period, and you can go in there and you can compare it to other funds. Another fund provided by the same company, and see how it tracks. Since they're both basically market and index funds, you'll see it tracks there. And you can compare it to certain indices, should be showing up there. An indice here. So you can see how it tracks to the indices and its performance at that time. And just like the other one, you can adjust it over time to very specific time frames if you like. So there's a lot to go here. Your default is a 10K growth, but you can change it to different types of options. You can turn on options. You can see how often the dividend paid out. You can see all different types of displays there. You can even, in that interactive chart, compare a fund to an ETF, which is the thing I really like on this interactive, this mountain chart. And as I mentioned before, Morningstar does have this sustainability rating. Well, they look at this. They also have a carbon impact score for a lot of funds. So if that's a concern in your investing, Morningstar is a place to go to about how they measure the carbon metrics. So how much green energy they might be invested in, or how much fossil fuel involvement the fund is invested in. You can review that if you're if you're interested in that. One of the tools I like to show off with Morningstar is this in the planning and education section is the portfolio X-ray. I covered the college cost calculator and the retirement cost calculator in the previous course. I'm going to, in the previous presentation, it's not a course. I'm going to go to the portfolio X-ray. So if you have a diverse investing strategy, which one of a few piece of advice is to always be as diverse as you can possibly be in your investing. That's going to be what everybody says, but you can actually look at your portfolio and how that looks and compare it against a certain benchmark. So if you're investing for retirement, like I am, typically the recommendation is 80% stock, 20% bonds. It's really closer to 80, 85, 15, but that kind of goes up and down depending on how the economy is. Once again, you'll want to do your own research on that. So you can begin to place a benchmark there, and you can add in um, you can add in certain stocks. So what you may have. So you just type in the name and you type in if you've got an individual in stock in something. So I don't know what this exactly what the stock is, but just for some example options, just put in ticker and it should autofill with the options here. What it does is it's gonna, if you've got several different mutual funds, it really allows you to break this out. Actually, we'll do. I've got a few pre-made. I don't know if these are open funds or anything like that, but just an example. So once you fill that in, it's going to have how your asset allocation is built out, your percentage in that, how it compares to the benchmark you've set up. It's going to have how your stock style is set up. It's going to have a performance graph against how your portfolio is performing against that. And it's also going to have a nice portfolio X-ray where it has your top holdings. Obviously, you'd probably add in more, but it's going to show you some stock overlap where you're most invested. You can see the individual stock that is invested in is also invested in by one of the mutual funds, and your percent of investments in that stock. Probably because I have such small stock in there, it's probably not adding up on that. But as you build this is going to be real interesting for you to see where your distribution is for your stocks. Stocks and mutual funds. We're coming up to the end. This is always a longer program than I expected. So I'm going to go and stick around for about 5 more minutes at the end of this, and you all can ask me questions. I'm going to post up the survey in the chat for at the end for you all to take the survey here. I cut this down to be shorter, and I realize I need to make it even shorter. I need to have more time reserved to present this. Yes, I'm glad it's recorded too. Of course, sometimes when I listen to it, I have to listen to my voice. I'm going to go and stop the recording, and we can go forward. You can continue to chat with me in the chat, but I'm going to keep the recording under an hour. But I'll keep on sticking.